kama rais ameweza kustaafu, ni vizuri awache kwamba yule ambaye yupo afanye kazi yake inavyofaa, ili kuwe na umoja, kuwe na utangamano, na kama kuna mambo yote ambayo pengine yanatokea, basi kuna kuwa na mawasiliano. Na hilo ni jambo ambalo unaliona kabisa hata kule Marekani, wakati rais amestaafu, anakwenda kufanya kazi nyingine. Na leo asubuhi nilikuwa namfikiria yule Jimmy Carter ambaye alikuwa ameishi miaka mingi zaidi, na alipoacha uongozi yeye alienda kushughulikia watu, akaenda kujengea watu manyumba, akaenda kufanya mambo ya kuleta amani, na akaishi miaka mingi kuliko rais yote mwingine. Na hayo ndio mambo ambayo yanafaa kuwa wakati unapostaafu kuwa rais, na ndivyo mtiposa iwe ni kielelezo chema ambacho kipo katika jamii hii yetu ya Kenya. The Mount Kenya region is the UDA party is very strong. If you look at even the turnout of those people who have participated in the grassroots elections, 580,000 people came out to be elected as officials. That has never happened before in the history of this republic. And that's why I'm insisting that we need national political parties. UDA remains to be so. UDA has a very firm grip in the mountain. And if you want to doubt that, look at the Mbere by-election. Didn't UDA win? So when you say that UDA does not have, politicians are allowed to make their personal decisions. And that is allowed. But it does not necessarily mean in any way that the political party, UDA, it doesn't have, the political party remains strong and will continue to strengthen it. In any case, we are the founders. I am a founder of UDA, particularly even where I was running for in Roiro, constituency. So this is a party we invested in. And also, just to make it clear, we don't want a situation where we have political parties that die after every election. No. Political parties should be institutions so that they are able to carry the vision of the country forward. That is how democracies are strengthened. Like if you see America, we have Democrats and Republicans. If you look at UK, you have the Conservatives and Labour. That is the way you are able to make sure that the country is strong. Even imagine and strong democracies like India. So that you are able to have a form of predictability in terms of what you're doing. The same case with Ghana. Very strong, democracy, two parties, and they change over power. But every time we have new political parties every year, I think that's not true. And that's why I'm very happy that even if you look at the ratings, UDA still remains to be the strongest party, across the country and including the Mount Kenya region. We now have a bill. It's already gone through mediation in Parliament, both National Assembly and Senate, and it is a sixth attempt to have a disaster risk management bill. When I was a member of Parliament, it was an issue. We were conversing with Sakaja, Utula Kilonzo, Rachel Shebesh, and others, Tia Galgalo. We had a whole caucus on disaster risk reduction within the United Nations. But now we are very happy that soon this is going to be law, and it will also ensure that we have proper funding for disaster, and also disaster professionals are recruited into government so that it's not just ad hoc, going forward. So that is going to be addressed by legislation going forward. But we've learned our lessons. That's why you find in our budgeting process, we always have 5% for emergency, contingency, even in CDF and all of that. It's extremely important when that comes into it. Let's now turn to the affordable housing program. I think you can see clearly, fellow Kenyans, ladies and gentlemen, members of the fourth estate, Kenya is now a construction site. There is nowhere you will go, you don't find affordable housing projects. Yesterday, there at Kangari Market, you can see a beautiful market, complete there, and with a sign Mama Mboga. A clear indication of the fact that we are keeping our promises as government when we look at the 5 pillars of the better plan. Affordable housing actually has made Kenya to become a best practice worldwide. Because we are celebrated. How do we fund, affordable housing? Over 9,000 people have already received their houses. 640,000 Kenyans have been able to get jobs. 273,000 houses constructed at different points and counting. And even if you look at the economic survey, actually it clearly says in 2025, the greatest sector growth is actually, construction, primarily because of affordable housing. So we remain firmly on course to achieve our target of 1 million jobs under this transformative national initiative. In fact, it is the desire of the government, by the time we go to the next election, we have at least 4 or 5 million jobs created under the various programs of the Better Plan. That is our vision. That is our commitment. Because through this program, the government is not only building homes, but also reshaping urban development nationwide, making home ownership a reality for thousands of Kenyan people who would otherwise not have owned a decent home. And of course, we are doing away with the issue of slums. Currently, as I said earlier, 273,000 homes are under construction, with over 9,000 units completed and handed over to deserving families. The government is committed to inclusive growth within the affordable housing program, where nearly half of all workers of these sites are under age of 35. Women hold up to 30% of these jobs, and also there are persons with disabilities, whose target we want to make sure they are about 5%. Figures that exceed industrial norms and underscore our dedication to inclusion of the previously marginalized groups of people. Importantly, up to 60% of the workforce, each site is drawn from the host, county. I was there in Wajir, some few weeks ago, and you could find the locals there, very happy that they are getting opportunities to do, the new stadia and all of that. All of these programs for construction, the local community are the ones who are benefiting. Some of them who would not have gotten such jobs before. But also other Kenyans, the 40%, moving, you find somebody from Busia working in Wajir, find somebody from Murang'a, from Nyeri, working in Wajir. That is the spirit of nationhood, because we must remain united as one indivisible people. Yes, we come from various ethnic communities, and that is true. God did not make a mistake to make 45 communities, even more maybe, out of us. But we must also agree that we are one nation, and we should be able to focus on that, because that is what is going to make us, to achieve our collective, prosperity. This approach allows wages to circulate within communities, supports thriving local businesses, and ensures that development benefits the people directly. The other program is the RPL, Recognition of Prior Learning. Over 5,000 artisans are already in the program, and 180 women have already been certified. Those who, of course, who don't have papers, but they have the experience. In construction, for example, you find somebody with a degree, but somebody who just an artisan knows a little bit more. That's why we want to certify them, because they know what it takes. They are more practical. These certifications provide access to formal contracts, higher wages, and opportunities in international labor markets, thereby enhancing, livelihoods and professional growth. We want peaceful coexistence amongst all communities. Those that are doing farming, those that are doing livestock keeping, the nomadic communities, the agricultural communities, and any other form of economic gain. Any disputes that arise shall be resolved. Cause the tensions. We even had similar tensions in Meru, and the government is on top of it. And we are trying our level best to ensure that we resolve this conflict. Remember, the issue of cattle rustling and banditry and all of that has been long and forthcoming. But we are trying our level best through the Ministry of Interior to ensure that we contain everything, together. So we do not want a situation where, there is incitement and people then take arms against each other. Because if we are to do so, my friend, Live Nation, Jeff, then all of us will be fighting. That's why we must maintain, decorum, and we must be cordial with one another, so that we are able to, have a peaceful and harmonious coexistence amongst all communities. And that is why we have national political parties like UDA that bring all communities together. Anyone who is promoting political parties that have got an ethnic, connotation, then really is a disservice to Kenya, because Project Kenya must work. We are all together. I don't think there's anyone who made a mistake, to be a Kenyan. No, we are all here, and we have to coexist and work together. And instead of seeing, our differences as stumbling blocks, we try to bring the best out of it. Like now, we have very good people who do very good, work. They are very well endowed in different fields, and we unite behind them. We unite behind what we are able to do as Kenyans. You see, Kenya is doing very well. There's a young man who just won some marathon in London, Sebastian Sawe, and a man, he was very well generously, received by the president. 3 million. We promise every gold is 3 million, 5 million from the president himself, and other things, and also, the other young man also who won. So that's what we need to do. We need things that rally us together and see the bigger picture. Issues of competition for scarce resources, let us resolve them. That's where leadership is required. The government is pleased to announce significant progress and reforms in various sectors aimed at ensuring that we have improved access at all levels of learning from education to university. These efforts also extend to teacher welfare, digital systems, and health protection, ensuring a holistic approach to education development. As part of its commitment to supporting learners in public institutions, the government has released Kenya shillings 23.4 billion in capitation funds to support learners in public schools. The funding helps ease the financial burden on families and allows schools to provide necessary learning materials and support co-curricular activities. Primary schools receive Kenya shillings 1,400 per learner. The National Treasury has been disbursing these funds to the Ministry of Education each term, following a 50-30-20 distribution ratio across 3 terms. For the current cycle, there are monies that have been allocated into account 1 for public primary schools for learning materials. We have money for textbooks, maintenance, for exercise books, for teacher guides and reference materials, and also for stationery. It is very well, broken down. We also have money released into account 2 to cover school operation costs. That is like support staff wages, classrooms and facility maintenance, school activities, local transport utilities like electricity and water, communication, environment, sanitation, and capacity building at board management meetings, contingencies, science and applied technology, and assessment and examination. So you can see quite a number of areas have been covered, in that regard. So anyone who is saying that our education system is not working, really, they are politicking. They are politicking with the system. And that's why we are saying all those hidden costs by teachers, by the head teachers, are wrong. Because if their reason for doing so is delayed capitation, disbursement, then it's already been done before even children and the students go to school. And yesterday, we visited several of them. We were at Rosho, boys. We were at Githumu, boys. We were also at Jiris. And all of them, even the teachers confirmed that they have actually been able to receive their funding for this academic year. So really, there's no reason whatsoever, because there's a very clear, disbursement 50-30-20, and so people are now able to plan with what we have. Of course, obviously, there is need to increase these resources depending on the availability of resources through Parliament. But as of now, there is no reason to say that you cannot budget with what is already being disbursed to the school.